Okay, so we're going to take a look at another little side tutorial here. I'm going to do a little rundown of push notifications, and I'm also going to address why I use a custom ID field in some of my collections. Um, Sometimes it comes in handy. Now, what I'm going to do is definitely kind of it's rigging it to work a certain way that maybe there's a better way to do it. I haven't found a better way. I've tried different methods, and somebody out there might know of a more efficient way to achieve what I'm trying to do. But thus far, this has been the best way that I've found. So, first and foremost, when you are wanting to set up push notifications, there's a couple of things you want to make sure you have done in Firebase. First of all, you need to have the Blaze plan so that you can access cloud functions. Doing it on the Spark plan will not allow you to do push notifications. I believe push notifications are free. I don't think there's a limit on that. I don't think there's an associated cost. But you do have to add a payment option and upgrade to Blaze. And also in your users and permissions, you need to go to your advanced permissions. If you haven't done this already, it's definitely something you should do when you're initially setting up your Firebase. But you want to find the user that's Firebase at flutterflow.io that you added, and you have to add 2 additional permission roles to them. So initially when you set it up with an editor role, and then you also want to add the Cloud Functions admin role and the service account user role. So once you have those done, you have the Blaze plan set up, then you're good to go on Firebase side. As far as just getting the notifications implemented. Now, if you're planning on deploying to iOS, then there's some extra steps that you have to do, but we're not going to go over that right now. Okay, so I'm going to interject into this video real quick. This part is not part of the original recording. I had previously uploaded a tutorial going over push notifications as well as addressing why I use custom ID fields in some of my collections. And when I uploaded that, I was playing around with some stuff on the back end off of recording, and I realized I had made a mistake in what I was trying to do. And I do apologize. Hopefully that hasn't messed anybody up too much, although I suspect that if you followed along that original tutorial and tried to mimic what I was doing, you would have gotten hung up and wondered why things weren't working like I had described them to work. So I went ahead and removed that original recording, and I wanted to jump in here and show what mistake I made and show how to correct that mistake. And then we'll go back through the process of setting up the push notifications and tagging a user and whatnot, which is what we're going to be doing in this part of the tutorial. So if you saw the original tutorial, then you kind of know where this is headed. If you did not see the original tutorial, I'll walk back through all of the steps to help you along the way if you need it. So I wanted to start here where the mistake was made. What I've done, as a matter of fact, let me just jump back. I've got 3 pages here that I'm working with. And this first page is tagging a user from a user list. It's going to tag a user and push that parameter reference over to this page here. And then I'm going to create a post. I'm going to create the post, and then I'm going to trigger a push notification and tag that, or send that notification to the user that I tagged on the previous page. And in that tag, it's going to have a reference point to my custom ID field, along with a redirect to this page so that the user that receives the push notification can tap on the notification and bring them into this page to be able to view the post that they were tagged in. And this is where the error was made. So originally I had said to click on the outermost container of the post, and do a backend query and query posts. And I instructed everybody to query it as a list of documents and then set the filter as these things, which we'll cover this in just a minute as to how that's relevant. But the error is right here. When I query as a list of documents, there is a time and place to do that with my custom ID fields, but it's not when you're querying inside of a container. It's typically done when you're querying either at a page level or you're querying an actual list view, but you're setting that list view to restrict the number of returned entries to 1. So again, there is a time and place to use querying list of documents, even though I'm just wanting to return 1 document, but this is not the place for it, and I'll show you why. So if I were to query a full list as I had originally specified as doing, then if I went in here, let's just go to content. If I wanted to get the content of the post, you'll see right here, post documents. So that's my query. You can see it's highlighting that social post container box, but it's querying the entire list. So the only options that it's giving me is number of items, filter list items, item and index. It's not giving me any data for the individual post itself. So there's no way that I can put the content in there. So instead of querying an entire list of documents, I do actually want to query only a single document to be able to gather the correct information. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and go back to the start of this process. And so I can show you how I even got to that point to begin with. I'm going to go ahead and remove that query. I'm going to go backwards here. I'm going to remove these actions. And I'm going to remove this page parameter. And then we'll go back here and we're going to remove this action too. So we can start from the very beginning. All right, so again, what I'm trying to do here is I want to tag a user from a user list and push their tag as a page level parameter to the next page, which would be a post. I want to make a post, and then I want to issue a push notification to the user that I tagged. So let's go ahead and do that first. So this is just a list view of the entire user's collection, list of documents. Nothing else is set in here, so I'm just getting all the users that would be in that collection. And so I would go through here and I would decide, okay, I want to tag XYZ, so I'm going to tap this button. And I'm going to set that as a navigate to. Let's see, that's tagged user post is my next page, so I'm going to navigate to tagged user post. I don't want to navigate back. And I'm going to define a parameter. I'm going to set it as tagged user reference. And I'm going to set that as a document reference to users. Confirm that. And then I want to pass that tag. And so I'm going to set the value as the user who I am tagging. So I will grab their reference. So if I tagged user XYZ, I've now referenced them and I'm pushing it, pushing that parameter to the next page. And this is the next page where it's being pushed to. And you can see up here, page level parameters, tagged user reference. So now I've got that user in here that I can tag. So, and that, oops, well, shoot. Go back here, get rid of that. Didn't mean to put that in there. I do want to come down here real quick and get rid of that. So we can walk through that process. All right, so now I've got that user. So first thing that I want to do, and this is where my custom ID field is going to come into play, is first action I want to set is to create a post. So I'm going to create a document in my Firestore, and I'm going to choose my post collection, and I'm going to add, I've got a bunch of different fields in here. Should I be making an actual post? But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm only going to use, I'm just going to use content and post ID. post ID. Go back over here to my collections and post. Post ID is a data field. It's a string data type data field that I set manually when I built this collection. This is not the same ID that is issued automatically by Firebase. This is something that I will set. So again, I want to set my post button to initially create a document. There's my post ID field. We're going to leave that alone for now. We're not going to do anything with that. And I'll just go ahead and set my content field to my widget state, which is going to be this box right here, text field. Okay. All right. So next up, before I address the post ID field, I want to go ahead and create my action for issuing a push notification. So I'm going to go down here to push notification. For recipients, I'm going to choose a single recipient, and I'm going to set that to the tagged user reference, the user that I tagged in the post. So I want that push to go to them. And then my notification title and notification text can be pretty much whatever you want it to be. New post tag, and then if you want to add some personalization to it, you could do a combined text and flow change some stuff again. And you could put authenticated user's username, that would be the person creating the post, and you could do you could give indication to the user that's receiving the notification to tap on the notification to view the post if you want to. That's entirely up to you. And then the notification image is optional. You don't have to put anything in there. I could do authenticated user, I could do their photo, so I could associate a display name with the photo. And then whether you want to deliver that notification with sound or not. All right, so behavior on tap is really the most important thing that we want to look at here. That's where the user that receives the notification will be directed to when they tap the notification. You do have to set something here. It is not an option to leave it blank, as noted by this error that's popping up here. And so I want to send them to my direct tag page, which is the page that they will arrive at. Let me go in here real quick and get rid of that so we can start from the very beginning. This is the page that I want them to arrive at when they tap on the push notification. Now, in order to associate the post that I just made with that navigation from the push notification to that page, I have to pass a parameter along with that push notification. Otherwise, if they tap on the notification with nothing defined here, it'll just take them to a blank page, or it'll probably take them to a grayed out page because it won't be receiving any data. So you have to associate the post that I just created with this behavior on tap via a parameter in order for it to work correctly. Now, if I try and go in here and create a parameter and do a post reference to the post that I just made, and then set that as a document reference to posts like you would do for a lot of other instances where you're pushing a parameter, and I try and pass that post reference, go in here, you can see that there's no post to reference. If there was, then where, like how it says users document, it would say post document there, and then I'd be able to drop it down and I'd be able to reference it. But there's nothing to reference, and the reason is that you cannot push a reference to a Firebase generated ID field for a document that you created within the same string, action string, that you're trying to push the parameter. Flutterflow, I believe, has been addressed about this. I don't know if there is a workaround. I don't know if they're looking at implementing a workaround, but as it stands right now, if you create a document and then you want to pass anything related to that document in the same action, you can't do that by simply going in here and referencing it with a normal tag. So that's where my custom ID field actually comes into play. So I'm actually going to go in here. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one because I don't need it. And so I need to be able to assign a post ID here with a custom ID to my post ID field for the post, and I also need to be able to assign that same custom ID to this parameter for the push notification. And so I need them to be equal and exactly the same so that it's receiving the exact same information here. And so I cannot, if I try and set it here and go in here and do it from a variable and then set it as random data in here, I still won't be able to reference that in my push notification because again, it's part of the same action flow. So go back to specific. The easiest way that I found to do this that really just works kind of out of the box and gets it done quickly is to actually go up in here and grab yourself another data field, or I'm sorry, a text input field. Just drop it down at the bottom, and then I'm going to eject it down further to get it away from up here. And most of it is already the same color as the background. I would go ahead, if I were you, and just set everything to be equal to the color of your background. And you can actually just uncheck that so it's all part of the same color. And then you can even just delete this from here, but just to make sure that nothing shows up, you do want it to be all the same color as whatever your background is. Now, if you are if you're working with a gradient background where you don't have a solid equal color from top to bottom, being able to set your stuff to the same color as the background is pretty difficult. So in that case, you would just make everything transparent. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, next thing that I want to do, and I may already be doing this. Yeah, I am, because I didn't remove that. So next thing I want to do is actually add a backend query at the page level for that user tag that I'm referencing. So I'm going to do document from reference, and I'm going to select users, and then I'm going to get that tagged user reference here. So now I can get the information for that user, and that's going to come in handy when I do this custom ID field here. So go ahead and tap on this text field that you have everything set to invisible, and we're going to go ahead and set an initial value for that field. And that initial value, you can set it up pretty much however you want, but for what I do, I'm going to do combine text. I'm going to do from a variable. I'm going to go to the user's document of the user that I'm tagging, and I'm going to grab their UID so it's unique to them. Then I'll do another text field and maybe do a colon or something like that. And then in my third text field, I'll do another variable, and I will set that to random data, random string. And I'm going to set this to something fairly long so that it's highly unlikely that it'll ever be repeated, at least for this individual user. All right, so now I'm creating my custom ID that's associated with this user, and it's got this random string here. Okay, so when the page is loaded here, it's going to automatically fill this text field with this ID that I created, but you won't be able to see it because it's invisible or it's the same color as the background. Now you do want to make sure that you turned off autofocus for that field, and you set it to read only. That way the user won't accidentally tap in there and change things around. Okay, so that's good to go. So we can go back to the post button now. And when we create the document post ID, we can set that to a variable. We can go in here and we can go to widget state, and we can grab text field 2. So let me change that real quick just so for clarification. We'll just change that to custom ID. So grab our variable, go to widget state, and custom ID field. Okay. And then in trigger push notification, we want to define a parameter to pass with the notification. And we're going to do a custom ID reference. And we will set that as a string. Now we'll pass that custom ID reference, and we're going to set its value as a variable, widget state, and we will assign it custom ID text field. So now it's receiving its ID to the push notification, from the same text field that the post ID for the create document is receiving its ID from. So they will receive the exact same ID. So now they match. Okay, and then obviously after you initiate that create document push notification, you probably want to have a redirect for the user to send them to another page, but we're not going to worry about that. We've got this taken care of, which is what we want. Now we will go over here to the page direct to tag. This is the page that the user who received the push notification, if they tap on it, it'll bring them to this page. And as you can see up here at the page level parameter, we've got the custom ID reference tag. So there's that reference to the ID. But we want that the post that shows up to be equal to have the same post ID that's equal to the parameter ID. So to do that, we will go here and we'll grab the social post container. I find it easiest to do it within a container rather than column or anything like that. Grab the top level container for that post and go ahead and add a backend query. And we will query collection and we'll query posts. And this is where we're going to leave it as a single document rather than a list of documents. We'll just leave it as a single document because you only want to pull one document. You can hide the widget if you want to, and then have some other kind of widget show up that says, you know, error occurred or no match found or whatever. Or you can turn that off and the widget will still show up. It just won't be presenting any correct data, and it might actually throw a gray error screen. So I'll leave that on. Now we do want to set a filter for this. This is the post that's being queried. We want to grab the post ID equal to, and we want to get the page level parameter ID. So we want the post ID to be equal to the page parameter ID that we passed through the push notification. Now you'll be receiving, when the user taps on the push notification, it'll bring them to this page and it'll generate the post. It'll show the post that's related to that push. And now you can actually fill in this data here. So now you see we have the post document query here that we can access. We can set the content for it. We can do this row up here and grab a reference point. I'm not really sure how I guess I'm not referencing. Where's that coming from? Don't really know where I'm pulling that from. Okay. Let me see here. Let's get rid of that. Yeah. Okay. So you don't want a query happening at the page level. So I don't know why I had a page level query there, but I just removed it. So now I'm going to go to this row. I'm going to add a backend query. I'm going to do document from reference. I'm going to select users. I'm going to go to my post document that I'm querying, and I'm going to do posted by reference so I can get that user's information. And now I can set that user's username. So user's document, display name, get their photo. And then of course we want to set the posts document, date created. And we can do relative. All right, so obviously you go through and fill all this stuff out so that it's linked up to that post. I'm not going to go through that process right now, but that's how you do that. All right, so again, now when that push notification arrives at the tagged user on their device and they tap on the push notification, it'll bring them to this page and they will see the post that they were tagged in. So that fixes the mistake that I made. I apologize for that. Hopefully this makes a little bit more sense for anybody that was trying the original method and was encountering problems. All right, that's it for this tutorial. Catch you on the next one.